In the town where I was born lived a man who sailed to sea, and he told...
Oh, the Beatles sound pretty sick, so let's just kill the Beatles. Hey, welcome to the Jersey Bayshore Talk Radio. Really, we're going out to Keyport, Kingsburg, Port Monmouth, Belford, Leonardo, Atlantic Highlands, Middletown, Navesink, Highlands, Matawan, Hazlitt, Aberdeen, Homedale, Union Beach, and the world. With me tonight, I've got three guests in the studio. Two of them have been diving in the murky depths of the Raritan Bay, Sandy Hook Bay, and the Shrewsbury River, and probably some other places like the Atlantic Ocean. We're going to talk to them in a minute. It's Robert Harris and Gary Fillipone, right? And Ryan Taffet, or Taffet, I'm not sure. Is it Taffet? Taffet, okay. And he is a fisherman who has actually caught a whale, I think, or at least that's what he told everybody. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. The number to call in if you'd like to make a comment or ask a question is 347-327-9338 or 855-345-4707. It's always nice to hear your comments. It's always nice to know that you're listening. And if you want to, if you're a little bit shy and you don't want to call and you just want to ask a question, if you go to the Facebook page called New Jersey Bayshore, 4 words, New Jersey Bayshore, you can ask a question or you can say, we can't hear you, please, come on, let us know whether you can hear, and do call in with questions. So I have some guys here that I'm really excited about talking to. We've advertised this show as a show that's going to talk about what are we finding in the murky depths of the Raritan Bay. And, my first question, guys, let's start with you, Gary. How long have you been scuba diving?
Well, this year will be 41 years.
How did you get interested in it? How did you get started?
I don't know, watching Flipper.
Did you really?
Yeah, living on the river in Oceanport.
Do you know the first show that you probably remember too was Sea Hunt? Remember with
Lloyd Bridges.
Lloyd Bridges, and remember his character name? Mike Nelson.
Oh, Mike Nelson.
And I'll never forget. I was at my grandparents' house, and they had a zoo down, and we talked about this earlier, down in Boca Raton, Florida. And who pulls up to our house but Lloyd Bridges? And he's in a convertible, and he wanted the, kind of a private tour through the park, and I got to meet him and everything, and I was like thrilled that, this guy was my hero. So Lloyd Bridges and Sea Hunt, and I remember the music and the bubbles, and there was always somebody that would cut the cord. It was crazy. Also here is Robert Harris. Robert, how did you get involved in scuba diving?
Well, I've been diving scuba since 1989, but have always snorkeled probably since the 70s. And I've always liked to be around water, below the water, on top of the water. So I got certified at a local dive shop in 1989 and been doing it since.
And how did you guys meet? Because you seem to... I know that you bump into each other in the murky depths once in a while. We talked about that. How'd you get to know each other?
That's a front. Because he has a boat and I have a boat.
Who's got the best boat?
Depends on what you call best.
Who's got the biggest boat?
Gary.
Yeah, for now.
Okay. And is it true what they say that a boat is sort of like a house, it's just a money pit? You just keep putting money into them, or do you do all the repairs yourself?
It's more like a wife.
How so?
Well, it just takes
takes a lot of.
Rob, can you relate?
Well, I would say that we initially met over the locomotives, which are at the bottom of the Atlantic off of Long Branch in about 60 to 70 feet of water. And that had to be in 1996. I ran into him, and he's quite the legend. And I ran into him at the Highlands Clam Festival at the historical booth. We got caught up and discussed some things, and we just started diving together this past summer, doing some things together, hitting some real good wrecks and spear fishing, bottling, and it's been good.
Now, Gary, you're from Highlands. Where are you from, Robert?
Well, I live in Colts Neck, but originally I'm from Bergen County.
All right, let's get right to it. What are you finding under there? What are the things that that are interesting about what you find?
Maybe nobody's ever seen it before under there. We're just finding something someone lost maybe a long time ago.
Like what is something you found where you went, oh my gosh, I can't believe I found this?
Well, bottles, wrecks, junk.
Have you guys found a wreck that you're not telling anybody the location of?
No.
Really? But now, so what are some of the wrecks? The one you said was the Aurora?
Yes.
Tell me about that. And did you discover it, or what is it? And
Well, it's a wreck off Sandy Hook, sunk in 1827, and it had a cargo of plate shingles and china, barrels of cargo tools, doorknobs, and it just sort of, well, not stumbled on it, but finding the china, because I missed a fish when I was spearfishing and hit a shingle. I was looking at the tip, and I found a fragment of a plate, and I figured, well, there might be others, and I looked down inside the shingle pile, and there rows of china.
how murky and turbid is it down there? Is it tough to see? Are there certain times of the year it's better? Or?
No, you tell other divers out from the area it's turbid and muddy and crappy, so nobody dives it. But people who don't dive, you tell them it's beautiful. Clear, it could be clear, or it could be murky.
Robert, do you see a lot of other divers in this area? I've only run into, you guys, of course, but I've seen a couple of other divers down at the bridge in the Shrewsbury River. Do you think there are a lot of divers?
There's a lot of divers, but like anything, a lot of guys and gals are into different types of diving. Some divers like to go very, very deep. Other guys are into gases, nitrox, and challenging diving. So I think that diving, everybody can find their niche. When I first started diving, I was always after the almighty lobster, and I would spend all my time just hunting lobster, gauging them underwater, making sure that they're legal, no eggs. And then I switched to artifacts, going to shipwrecks with a couple of guys that run an organization, New Jersey Historical Divers Association. They investigate and identify wrecks in New Jersey. And most recently, I've really enjoyed diving shallower, getting a lot more bottom time and going for old bottles. It just seems very gratifying when you can get your hands on a bottle to think that it was in someone's hands in 1910, and you have it now, and you clean it, and you look it up, and you just trace where it was from, the origin, whether it's a dairy or a beer factory, and it's good stuff.
We have a couple of callers on the line, and we're going to get to them in just a minute, but have you ever found a bottle that is full of stuff, like alcohol?
Well,
Have you?
Well, I have one, but it was found by a clammer.
Yeah.
That who was clamming up in a Raritan and found it hooked in. It must have been a rum runner.
Wow.
But I haven't drank it, but it looks like it's potent because we lit a little on fire and it burned clear. But my friend and I found another wreck out there that's real old, looking for this rum runner. We haven't found the rum runner, so we found another wreck.
Well, we have a surprise guest. Actually, it's no surprise. It's my mother. My mother calls all the time because she's interesting, but she probably has a question. And she lives in West Palm Beach, Florida, so we're going to get her on the line now. Mrs. Schneider, are you on the line?
Oh, I've got so many questions for these young men. I want to know, what was the strangest thing you ever found under the water?
Well, the strangest thing I ever saw in the water was our dive buddy Carl, but it just.
Oh, you didn't find a skeleton or anything like that.
No, I found a body though.
No, that's a strange thing.
Well, yeah, but sea life, I found it. One time I saw this. I was diving a shallow wreck with a friend of mine, and I saw this giant white worm that was maybe 2 feet long and about I guess, 6 inches in diameter. And first I was going to leave the area because I didn't know what it was, and I got to go see what it is, and it turned out to be billions of little white shrimp that combine to make it look like a giant worm. So my theory was the sea life, like a fish wouldn't go after it. Sure enough, when we were working this wreck of the Aurora, I found this bloodworm that was 3 feet long, and usually we find little, smaller worms inside the plates, and I'd fling them up in the water column, and the fish would eat them, but nothing would touch this giant worm, and I knew it was 3 feet long because I brought it up on the boat and measured it.
Ooh. Now, Mrs. Schneider, do you have another question?
Yes. What was the most beautiful thing you found, like jewelry? A ring or something in the river?
Well, in the ocean, there's wreck of the Aurora. We found.
Oh, really?
I found a medallion from the Battle of Trafalgar and from the Napoleonic Wars. And,
all right, and then I wanted to know, did you ever see a shark in Raritan Bay?
Yeah, on the surface.
On the surface. They do go there. Is that fresh water or salt?
Salt.
Salt. And the other thing is, I know a lot of boats sunk in the river during the storm Sandy. Do you ever go in them to look and see if you find anything?
No, they mainly removed all the boats that they found because they sent the Corps of Engineers up and down the rivers with a side scan sonar, and anything they find, they have a salvager pull them out.
All right, Mom, we're going to put you on hold for a minute. We have another caller here, and let's see who's calling. Who's on the line? Hello, this is John. Who's there? It's you, 646, area code. Are you there? 660? They're gone. Yeah, it's okay. What do you, what haven't you dived? Where would you like to go next? I mean, if the weather got real nice this next weekend and you could go pick a place, where would you go?
We're around here.
Well, within reason. I mean, something that is just on your list of things to dive for. Where would you go that you haven't been to?
Well, from my boat, most of the stuff I had in Iran, now with GPS, I don't have it anymore. So but some of the stuff I've been on years ago, I'd like to go back, but I don't have the Loran. They discontinued the Loran, and it's only in satellites now instead of radio waves. So, but traveling, I'd like to go to Trunk Lagoon in Micronesia, in the South Pacific.
And what would you see? Is it just coral formations and fish, or there's some boats and wrecks? Are there a lot of wrecks? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's Japanese fleet.
How about around here? Anything around here that you haven't been to that you'd like to go to?
No, I've been on most of the known wrecks from like Fire Island down to Barnegat.
Oh, there are hundreds of wrecks. I saw a map, I guess, last year that just shows the wrecks.
Yeah, some of them in the mud hole that are deep. I've been on some of them, but not.
Where's the mud hole, Gary?
It's off, starts about 10 miles off Monmouth Beach and runs out to the Hudson Canyon. It was the ancient river system to the Hudson River during the Ice Age. Right,
and I just published an article, not published, I just reposted an article about that Raritan Bay was a glacier valley. It was a beautiful valley at one time, and it wasn't filled with water at all except a river that ran out.
And then at the Ice Age, near the end, there was a dam across where the Verrazano Bridge is today, and it blew through, and just the lake was all the way up past it was a huge lake, and it flushed out because over the years diving out off Raritan Bay and in the ocean, you'd find these giant round boulders, and you knew that they didn't just dump them with junk. It was rolled out, and that's what it was from. We see a lot of Ice Age stuff out there.
Cool. Now, I don't want to get you guys in trouble with the IRS, and you don't have to reveal what it is, but have you found some things of value, like precious metals?
Yeah, Rob asked.
Yeah, Ron, can you talk about a little bit? What are some of the precious things that you've found, Rob?
Depends what you call precious.
Well, that you could sell on eBay, or you could just sell in general, not just relics, but precious metals, gold, silver, that sort of thing.
There's ingots, which I think don't have, it depends what they're made of. Iron ingots, they don't have much value. But I think that when it comes to artifacts, the value is in what you perceive. I haven't come across anything that I can go sell, but I'd rather keep what I find. It just has value that way.
What of all the things that you found or that you have do you prize the most?
I would say bottles, spikes, valves, components off of engines. We just got a spike this past summer off of a wreck from the Revolutionary War era. And to me, it's just amazing that you can go down and take some of these spikes and preserve them, because eventually the wreck is just going to rot. So I don't break anything apart, but something like that has a lot of meaning to me.
What about you, Gary? What is something that you have found that is precious, to you at least?
Well, the Aurora itself and what we found on that, because some of it's like the Octon, it's a navigational instrument that was in mint condition.
Ah.
And the chronometer, which is the ship's clock, the medallion, like stuff like that. And then what Bob mentioned is called the spike wreck that was sunk during the Revolutionary War, during whaleboat warfare. And it was a British merchant ship burned by the Patriots right off Walker's Row at Sandy Hook. But that itself is, the story itself, how it was sunk and, the circumstance.
We're going to get to that in a minute. We've got another caller from 732-703. Who's on the line?
This is Bart Major.
How are you?
Hey, Bart.
Hey, man, what's going on?
How you doing?
Good. I was looking at some of those photos of those lobsters, man. Where are you catching all of them?
Well, we can't tell you those things. Bart's a fellow diver and probably one of the best divers that I've ever had the pleasure of diving with. He mates on some boats, dives on Lady Go Diver.
Nice. Well, what have you found, Bart? What are some things that you would say are things that you prize?
Well, I find a lot of fishing sinkers. I've found, a number of spikes, some silver spoons with the Clyde line insignia on them. We dive not in these waters, but we do dive for shark teeth, the prehistoric type, some fossils and stuff. But I particularly like the lobsters and scallops. Those are my favorites.
Now, when someone comes into this area to the Jersey Bayshore, they really don't think, I would assume, that this is a great place to dive. What would somebody, if there are divers from New York City or northern New Jersey, and I'm sure you don't want the water spilled with divers, so we don't have millions of listeners. What would somebody do if they were registered and a real diver? Where would you suggest they go? Is there a charter boat that takes them out? Do you take them out?
Oh, the charter boats?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. There's a number of different boats all out of Point Pleasant in the Shark River area. They're all very good. Adventure 3 is one of my favorites.
Are you guys, Bart, excuse me, are you guys familiar with any charter boats that take people out for scuba diving trips?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a captain,
Up here?
but I don't go. I don't take them out on trips. No.
Are there boats around the Raritan Bay that any marinas like Keyport or Highlands or Atlantic Highlands?
Not really from
the CRT is out of Highlands, or it used to be anyway, and they would take divers out every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a boat on. Yeah.
Did you say the Elaine B?
No. Oh yeah, the Elaine B take people.
Is that the catamaran?
No, the Elaine B is just a beautiful boat.
Oh.
Classic wooden 1965 boat with two
I'll
big
talk to you
diesel.
guys in a bit.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what boat he is. The one on Shrewsbury Avenue, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most dive boats will not come up this far and come into the bay because of the visibility.
Right.
Most of the diving that is done here is September, October, November, when the algae dies off and the water cleans up. You can get in excess of 25 feet of visibility. Most of the boats will run out of an inlet, Shark River or Manasquan Inlet or Barnegat, and go where we call them cattle boats. People just load them up and they bring them out and drop them on regular stops.
How far have you gone out?
I've been out 75 miles.
Really?
From Sandy Hook, yeah.
Wow. And what's out in that area?
Well, there was an oil tanker off Shinnecock Inlet, sunk during World War II. It was 190 feet, but
wow, that's is that considered a small boat or ship or what?
No, it was a 400-something foot oil tanker.
Oh, I see.
And the boat, I was just me and a friend of mine went out, 25-foot boat. We blew an engine 67 miles from shore, so we had to come in on one engine.
Oh my gosh! Now tell me about the Aurora, because that. I don't know that everybody, what's the history of that, and how did you get connected with it, and what have you found out there?
Well, it was sunk in November 7th, 1827. It was caught in a storm from Liverpool, England to New York, loaded with a general cargo. And as it got off, approached Sandy Hook, it got hit by the worst part of the storm. And the captain deployed the 2 anchors, but the anchors broke free. So they got beached sort of on a sandbar, so they tried to cut the mast down to save the ship, and then all the passengers and crew got on boats to go inshore on the beach, and 6 crew members stayed on board. And the next morning, when the light came, the sun came up, they saw body parts tied to the rail because they tied themselves to the rail.
Sure.
And they didn't make it, but it was, over the years, it was a fishing spot. So we went on it, I think the first time 11 years ago.
How far out is it?
Or 12 years ago. About 1,200 feet off the beach.
Oh, really?
19 feet at low tide.
Wow.
And we called it the shingle wreck at the time, because it was loaded with, that's a major part of the wreck. It looked like a giant rowboat sticking up. The sand, because now the pumping of the beaches filled it in, and like I said, I speared a fish, missed, saw the plates down underneath in the pile, and that preserved the plates. So most of them were in mint condition.
Wow!
Buried. We found thousands of intact plates. Most of this major part of the display is in a museum in Beach Haven. Some is up at the lighthouse.
And this is stuff that you found that's now on display.
There was only, at the time, 3 of us working the wreck. And then Kenny Harbor from the baking company in Highlands, he and I were actually dredging it. We did the whole stern area twice by ourselves, just he and I. And we found all kind of, over the years, a whole bunch of us found all kind of stuff from it.
Now, did you discover this ship?
No, it was found I think 10 years before us by this well-known boat captain out of Belmar. And the past, 12 years ago, there was a boat off the Highlands Bridge working on the sewer line. And as people would go to the summer concerts at Sandy Hook, they'd call me up and say, "There's a boat on your wreck." And I'd say, "No, it was a big green hull." Yeah, and that was the work boat working on the sewer line. But he's a commercial diver, and he was with this other guy when they found the Aurora, because he zapped us with his radar, and he goes, "Oh yeah, a friend of ours who dove with us was working as a commercial diver on this guy's boat." He described it, and he said, "Yeah, that's the same wreck that they found 10 years before, but why nobody ever did anything with it, I don't know, but we found it completely untouched."
That amazes me. Now, a lot of the stuff that you found, the plates and all that, are in museums or things like that?
Yeah, there's a museum in Beach Haven, the museum up at the lighthouse, and the museum, Dan Leeds Museum down in Wall.
How does that work? Are they on loan from you, or do you give them to them?
Yeah, I just like the major stuff, like the octant, the medallions, stuff one of a kind is on loan only because, I even told the state curator up at the lighthouse, I can't own the medallion because, what am I going to do? Just stick it in the shelf? And so it's basically, I'd rather have it's the public, the people own it.
No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't do it for money. Yeah, it's
right.
Superstitious.
Did you, how long did it take you? Are you still working that, or are you cleaned it all out?
We did it for 5 years.
5 years? Did anybody film this? Did anybody video?
No, it's at the time, I mean, when you dig, it's so black from the mud.
Right.
That when you're digging inside a little, you couldn't see anything. Most of the time, I did most of the China digging, and I would use my gloves at the time, but I would just go with your fingers and let your fingers.
Right, right. How much oxygen? In other words, how long can you be?
Now, one fellow, Johnny from Pennsylvania, lasted I think 2 hours and 30 minutes with one tank, big tank. But you got unlimited. Yeah, long as you could. I could. With my tank I had, it would be an hour and a half. You would get freezing before you
run
out of air.
How often do you go out and dive? I mean, in the course of a year, how many times might? What do you think, Robert? How often do you go out and dive in the course of a year?
We shoot for every weekend, but the weather has a lot to do with it. For example, Lady Go Diver was scheduled for this weekend, but with the swells and wind and rain, we just couldn't get out. So we met for breakfast. But the weekend before we got out, and the water temperature was 37 degrees on the bottom. We did 2 dives. Visibility was 6 to 10 foot, but you take what you can get. Sometimes it's great, and other times it's just not that good, but it's just good to get out. So during the summertime, if the weather cooperates, we can get out every weekend. Sometimes we do night dives. On a Thursday night, we'll meet at 6 o'clock and motor out, get in the water by about 8:30 when the sun's going down, and that's a whole other way of diving. You use lights, strobes on the lines, and lobsters come out and feed at night. They're nocturnal, so you see a whole lot of different things at night.
Now, what do you do? Do you see a lobster? Can you sneak up on it and just grab it? I mean, how do you catch a lobster? Or do you use traps?
We don't use traps. You just have to act fast. Lobsters use their tail to propel themselves backwards. So typically they're in holes in between beams of ships or in rocks, and you just want to act fast. Take your hand and grab the body. Try not to lose any claws and try not to get bit or snapped on, because they can hurt. And first you want to gauge it, make sure it's the proper length, make sure that it's not notched, because there's certain regulations, and make sure there's no eggs. And if all's good, you put it in your bag and you smile and you keep looking for more.
So how many lobsters? I'm sure there's a limit. Is there a limit to the number of lobsters you can get in a day, or?
I believe
there's
6 lobsters. And how many?
License.
And how many lobsters have you caught in the course of a year? Have you had lobster dinner a lot?
Well,
Yeah. Gary?
57 and 2 trips by myself.
Really?
Yeah, I saw a couple of times a lobster run.
Oh man!
They just swarm a wreck and just completely cover it.
So you can bring a lobster home and throw it in a pot and have it for dinner, right?
Yeah, as long as you don't have kids.
Yeah.
They like making them as pets. And then,
do lobsters scream when they go into the pot? I've heard so many people told me that. I mean, I boiled a lobster myself.
It depends.
No, it's
people say you could put them in the freezer for a couple minutes and it eases the pain on them.
Oh, okay, that's
but I like to broil them opposed to steaming.
Nice. Well, we have another caller from an 848 area code. Who's on the line?
Hi, my name is Rhonda Sears.
Hi, Rhonda.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. You have a question for these crazy guys?
Well, actually, I usually dive out of Shark River with my father, and we found a wreck with some gold coins, and we found the gold coins in a broken box. We think that there's actually more gold coins, so we were curious how we go about finding the more coins.
Is this called the Yellow Worley?
Sorry, what'd you say?
The wreck of the Yellow Worley. It's off Belmore, 5 miles out. It's a auto wheeler sunk during the Civil War.
I'm not sure. I don't remember the name of the wreck.
It depends on depth, but you could use a mailbox, which is a lot more elaborate, but a water dredge would be or a scooter. The cheapest way to go is a scooter. In the middle.
All right, yeah, that sounds. Would you guys be willing?
Who's your father?
Would you guys be willing to help us, or?
Yeah, where do you want now? I mean, I don't want to get where the location, but I'm out of Highlands. I've been down off Mountain location.
And Rhonda, if you like, so we
oh
can
no,
keep
my dad doesn't want me telling anyone.
No, listen to what Rhonda, listen. If you want, you can contact me, John-Schneider at Comcast.net, and I'll convey your message to these guys. Can I ask you a question about the kind of, are these coins? What kind are they? Are they British? Are they American? I'm just curious. Oh, we lost her. Apparently there was a secret place where.
Yeah, there's a powder wheeler off Baltimore that they were buying gold coins.
Nice.
I think that was Dan, no?
Yeah, it was. I think someone out of Florida.
Okay.
Working there.
Right.
Now you guys have found coins, right? Yes? No?
Yeah, on the Aurora.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Typically,
Yeah.
I would say that, like you just heard, a lot of these wreck destinations are top secret. If somebody finds a spot, they're not going to share it.
Sure.
And if you want to go hunting and get lobsters, you try and go to a spot that not many people have gone to.
I see.
Well, like with me, the way I used to work it, before I got my boat, I was a nomad. And I would go out with commercial fishermen, lobstermen, sport fishermen, and whatever they used to do as a living, after they either get done or during it, I would dive, and I would just go hunt for wrecks, and I would find wrecks loaded with bottles. I found another one loaded with brass shell casings, but my more interest was finding the wreck and then moving on.
Right.
Because when I met these guys after we started working the Aurora, I would mention this to them, and they're like, what? You know, but I never, I just like the wreck. I don't care what's on it.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, I'm superstitious.
That's why it's a good dog fight.
Yeah.
Now, do you always dive with a partner, or do you dive solo sometimes?
No, well, over the years since I got my boat, I've been there was most of the time I'm not used to diving with somebody, because when I was a nomad, just going with, it would just be me and whoever ran the boat, a non-diver.
And for both of you, the question is, what's the, you look like you're probably fearless, but what moment in your diving experience brought you the most anxiety?
Well, I mean, fear keeps you alive. I mean, there's a couple of times I thought I almost bought it, but.
What can you say? I mean, what was it? Was it running out of oxygen? Was it being injured? Was it a fish, a shark?
No, well, I was on a night dive back in my mid-20s, I guess a long time ago, but something, I didn't know anybody on the boat. I felt this like big swirl and something slamming to the bottom, and it's like, and my mask got knocked off, but it got knocked off because whatever hit me knocked it down to my chest. So I put it on, cleared it, spun around. I didn't know anybody on the boat, so I know that they're going to mess with me, but I didn't see any lights, and I expected to see this big set of jaws coming out of the dark, and I go, well, can't see it, no use to worrying about it. I just went on, but another time I ran out of air. But
How
95 feet.
Do you have to decompress at 95 feet? What depth do you have to be at to start decompressing?
Well, 90 feet, you got 30 minutes on the Navy standard decompression table before, and normally it would take 1 foot per second back in those days. So, but I don't know how I got up to the surface.
Holy mackerel! How'd you feel when you got up?
Well, then I pulled the regulator on my mouth and shot to somebody on the boat to get the bag off of me, because I couldn't get it off of the block in there, and the swell broke. And down I went, but luckily these 4 guys were looking right at me, and I'm here today. So
thank God, thank God.
That's why I don't want to die doing something I love. I'd rather die of old age in a hospital.
Sure.
My favorite spot now is the Shrewsbury Rocks. It's shallow, nice.
Now, where is the Shrewsbury Rocks?
It's the Monmouth Beach, Seabright border, or about where that cultural center is.
And what is it? Bunch of rocks?
It's a natural rock formation that goes out to the Can buoy, which is about a mile offshore. Then in between, the can and the bell, there's a more rock formation, and east of the bell buoy, it's the one further south, it's called the Rattlesnake, but it's all one natural, like an ancient lake bed.
And what do you like about it? Why is it so interesting to you?
Oh,
I mean, is it nice looking?
Oh, yeah, it's clear most of the time and just loaded with fish. You always find something, bottles, fish and stuff.
Yeah.
Like this past summer, I got 48 diamond jigs just swimming along the bottom.
What is that?
They're fishing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like there was a party boat out of Brooklyn, the Brooklyn 6, and I found some diamond jigs with the stamp, their name on it.
Right.
I'm anchored up, and there he is. He's a cattle boat. Loaded with, and the bluefish was coming through a school and just cut the lines and all the diamond jigs and throw them out. You just pick them up like daisies.
I just want to remind everybody that after we talk about diving and wrecks and what these guys, we're going to talk to Ryan Taffet about fishing and what are we catching out there and how do we catch them and what are some of his experiences. What about you, Robert? Have you felt fear out there and what was it?
I probably feel fear every time I jump in the water. Just I never take it for granted. Just going back to something you mentioned earlier, you always dive with someone. The organizations used to teach that you always had to have a dive buddy, but they realize that doesn't always happen. So what they've done is actually teach solo diving so that you can rely on yourself, which is very, very important because even if you dive with a buddy, realistically, he's going to go left and you're going to go right. And in poor visibility, there could be 5 feet between you and you can't see him. So I think it's important that you can just take care of yourself, have a backup air source, which we refer to as a pony bottle, which is a whole separate tank with a regulator just in case your primary tank gets low, you can switch over to that. But I would say the thing that would scare me or has in the past is if you're inside or close to getting inside and you just feel a clank and you feel like you may get hung up or there's some netting that gets you hung up and you just don't want to put yourself in those situations and just always make sure you have plenty of air and you have to stop and think and breathe and just work your way out of it. Just don't panic and try and shoot to the surface. That's the worst thing you can do. So, yeah, think about it.
I've done that.
Has there ever been an object that was just too darn big to bring up? Something that you thought, wow, I'd love to have this. You know?
I got a 800-pound brass bevel sandy hook that's still out there and a 9-foot diameter propeller. I could get it up, the propeller and the bell.
Oh, I see. That's not this kind of show. Yeah.
But to get it into the boat, you'd have to have the setup.
Well,
because when you're dealing with that kind of force, it could kill you if it goes wrong.
Is it in your plan to try to retrieve those things at some point?
The bell, if I got the bell, I would bring it down, like donate it to the museum, but it's a sea buoy, which is technically still government property.
Yeah.
So, but it's, or the propellers, but what am I going to do with a 9-foot diameter propeller? I junk in the yard.
I wanted to ask you too about the Aurora for a minute. What kind of a ship was the Aurora? It was a wooden ship, right?
Yeah, full rigged, 3-masted, full rig ship, 106 feet long, and I think around a 26-foot beam.
Yeah.
Copper sheathed.
Yeah.
And it faces the twin lights. The bow faces twin lights, and the stern goes its northeast, southwest direction. And when I first dove it, I got all confused on which end was which because the bow turned out to be round, which you figured the stern, and the stern turned out to be pointy. But it's such an old Dan Leave from the Jersey Historical Divers Association pointed that out, that he showed me a picture of an old ship.
Yeah.
And the bow comes up to a flare.
Wow.
So, and then he goes, look at the rake of this copper sheathing. It's like shingles on a house.
Yeah.
You rake it to the stern, and then the rudder post is there.
Wow. Now, have you guys, you've seen, how many ships do you think you've dived?
Over 250 different ones now.
Holy mackerel. And are there things beyond ships? Have you found automobiles? Have you found automobiles? Planes? And I know you discovered a pilot, but
one of those. Yeah, 2 trains.
Well, now where are they, would you talk about those trains for a minute? How do they get wherever they are in the ocean?
It turned out when the computer first with the GPS on a computer, and I was talking to a commercial fisherman, and I said, boy, wouldn't that be great if they could put a nautical chart on a computer? And he goes, and he showed me this legal size piece of paper that looked like a shotgun blast, and I go, what's that? And he goes, oh, that's my plot when I'm off. He goes, that little spot there, that's the BA buoy, which is off Seabright, about 9 miles out. And he goes, all these little dots are hangs that I hooked into. And I go, how'd you do that? And he showed me the program. Well, on the program, there was an obstruction wire cleared 69 feet off Long Branch, and they started surveying offshore here the first time in 1988. The last time they did that was 1939. So I said, wow, let me go see what this thing looks like. So these 2 brothers took me out. They were fishermen, and they anchored up on it. And I went down, and it was a northeast wind for 2 weeks, so the visibility was 0. So I put my hand, I could tell it was an engine. I put my hand on it looking for the wreck, and I go, where's the wreck? And then I talked to somebody who said a captain out of Point Pleasant said there were 2 trains, locomotives. So I went back out with these 2 brothers in August, like 2 months later, and the visit was incredible. And yeah, see these 2 little trains. Yeah, I don't know anything about trains, so I contacted someone. He went out there, took some experts to see the video, and they turned out to be the 2 oldest in the world in existence.
How did they get out there again?
They were, well, he says, this guy says that they dug underneath, and they think they're sitting on the bottom. They fell off, but I think they're on a cradle, because they're almost perfectly upright and intact.
You think they were being shipped?
Well, they were definitely being shipped, but I think whatever, because I talked to people who used to load ships. Yeah. And I go, how would they load these? Because I go, would they load them bow to stern? Because the way there's, especially on the sailing ship. And he goes, yes. So I think they must have slid off. Either the ship sank, broke apart, and they were on this cradle, or they slid off sideways and landed upright. But
wow.
From 1854.
Holy mackerel!
But they're 2 beautiful little trains.
There is. We talked about this before. I've seen maps of all the shipwrecks in this area, and there's a bunch, isn't there? I mean, there's like 1,000, I think.
Well, since I don't have much of a life, the one year I decided, because they're always talking about Cape Hatteras, the graveyard of the Atlantic. Yeah. And Cape Hatteras, all that area is pretty big. So I looked all through my sources, and I counted how many ships that they said wrecked off Sandy Hook, and I got up to 150. Wow. Just Sandy Hook.
Has there been any interest, or have you done any river dives, or gone upriver and all that?
Yeah, the whole river system.
How far have you been up? Have you been up the Navesink?
Yeah, all the Navesink, the Branchport Creek, Little Silver Creek.
Is there anything to see up there?
Yeah, times the viz could be beautiful, very good.
Yeah, I mean, will you find stuff too? Wrecks, old steamboats, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, there's supposed to be the steamboat Little Silver up in Long Branch, right by Atlantic Avenue.
Really? And you found it or no?
Yes, kids, we used to see it low tide.
Holy mackerel! Yeah,
I could see it poking up, and
Now, what about as you go into? Have you been? Obviously, you don't. It's probably as you get into New York Harbor. That's not a place to scuba dive. Have you been there? Yeah. Really?
Yeah, when I do work for Seatel, but we go on up to Shooter's Island by the Bayonne Bridge.
Wow. Now it's funny. I've got I have pictures. You see right there's a picture on there. As a matter of fact, from space of the whole Raritan Bay area, including New York, and it's amazing. You see the flow of mud from the river coming down from New York and emptying into the bay. But you say that there are times during the year when the visibility is not so bad?
Well, it's deceiving because it could be dirty on top, but you go underneath, that's the fresh water heading out. And as a tide coming in, it comes underneath, the cold ocean water. So you break through and it looks like you're in outer space, like when you see the space shuttle. Right. Or there's times when it's opposite where you're like in outer space and you look down to Earth and you see the clouds. Yeah. And there's times like that where you're down and it's clear on top at 30, or it could be opposite. And there's times when there's 3 or 4 different tides running, but there's time when the bottom is clear. Yeah, it's really nice.
Is this an expensive? And we have a caller on the line. We'll get to in a minute. Is this an expensive sport?
Well, you can either buy a Volkswagen Beetle or a Ferrari. It depends on what you do. If you go technical, it can cost tens of thousands.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's get. We have another caller in the 732 area 598. Who's on the line with us?
Hello.
Lou? Yeah. Hi. How are you? Who's this?
Jim.
Hey, Jim. How are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Farmingdale, New Jersey, right now.
Very cool. All right. You know this guy?
No.
Jim Lair? I'm a friend of Gary's. Yeah, Gary has taught me a lot. I've been diving with him all summer.
All right.
2013.
And do you have a question that you could stump these guys with, or make them respond in some creative, interesting way?
Well, I actually just came on just moments before you actually talked to me, so I've only been listening to the show for a moment,
Yeah. Oh, welcome.
I think
this is my first year diving. I just started diving 2013, and Gary's been detrimental in helping me, showing me the ropes of diving, and it's been an awesome trip so far. We've been able to find, I went on wrecks with them where we found bottles. I went on wrecks where we found some slate. I haven't been up to all his dives yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to more.
Now, how did you? What did you do to sort of prepare yourself? Did you take some lessons somewhere in the area? What exactly did you do?
Well, yeah, I went to a place called Professional Divers out of Neptune, and I wanted to get certified to dive because ever since I've been a young guy, I loved watching Jacques Cousteau and everything under the sea. So I wanted to dive. I just didn't know much about diving in Jersey waters, for one. So once I got certified about 3 years ago, I put off a year where I didn't dive at all. And then last year, I was asking Gary for a while because my brother's name is actually Gary also, and he keeps a boat in the same marina that Gary has his boat. And, I started asking Gary, because I seen he was diving, and I wanted to dive with him, So, at first I think he was a little reluctant to take me out, but once I got out with him a few times, it was, it was just awesome. It was like I couldn't wait to go the next time, We went pretty much weekly. We're a group of guys who dive, and, right now, the winter, we didn't get to dive much. I did dive on January 1st with a guy named Rob Harris. I don't know if he's there or what. But,
yeah, Rob's here. Hey, Rob.
I'm right here, Jimmy.
Yeah, I love it. We dove on a wreck off of Seaside Heights. I'm pretty sure that was the area we were in. And, I seen some lobster down there. And, I'm just grateful that I ran into these guys. And they're showing me a lot, And, you have to really take your time learning. It's not something you just want to dive into. It's a great hobby and sport. There are consequences for doing things, the wrong way. There definitely is a wrong way. So, these guys have been diving 30 years or so, and I'm a new diver, and I'm just trying to be a sponge and suck up everything I can.
I appreciate your call, and I hope you call back next week too. Hey, let me ask you guys: for somebody who has never been under the water with a set of tanks and a breathing apparatus, what's it like? Regardless of the wrecks and discovering things, what's it like just to be under the water? Scuba diving. What's the feeling?
You can fly. Yeah, basically. I don't know. I don't really remember because I've been doing it since even snorkeling since I was a kid, so it was just natural. But now the part with the claustrophobia, I never understood that, but I think that's more of someone in a little submarine, or a little diving belt, or the hard hat, the diver Dan suit, because underwater, I mean, just scuba. I never felt claustrophobia unless you go inside something, which I try to avoid, because that's that could be detrimental.
What about you, Robert? What's the feeling that you appreciate being underwater like that?
I like being in a different environment. It's all quiet, and once you get comfortable and settled in, there's just so many things that you see, from fish and lobster and just shipwrecks, and just you're in a different place. It's great. You just you have a certain amount of time. That's why I tend to lean more toward shallower diving these days. You get more bottom time. The deeper you go, the less time you have.
How do you stop from being disoriented under the water? How do you know that you're staying with the boat, so to speak? Is there a way to kind of figure that out?
A wreck wheel. You hook a reel to the anchor line, and you just reel yourself out. And when you want to come back in, you just reel yourself in. But when I first started diving, I never used one. And I mean, I would just go out and then do a free ascent, which means you don't use the anchor line, and then just swim back to the boat. But now, since I got older, I wouldn't dare do that.
Now, you said too, Gary, that you've been down for 2+ hours. Have you ever been down and then come back up and the weather's completely different?
Oh yeah, you can. Oh yeah, you go down and it's a beautiful sunny day, and you come up and it's a raging thunderstorm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, or go out in really rough weather, which sometimes I wouldn't. I went out. A friend of mine and I left Sandy Hook, and we ended up off Long Beach Island in gale force winds, and we did a dive at 2:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Well, we have another caller from West Palm Beach. It is, guess who? Hello, Shirley. How are you?
Hello, my dear son. I just wanted to tell a little story about you to add a little humor to your program. Is that all right?
Okay.
It's
Sure.
a short one.
It's not about wetting the bed.
What?
It's not about wetting the bed. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's not wetting the bed or diapers or anything. When John was learning how to swim, we were teaching him at the pool, and he just would not put his face in the water. And we said, you have to put your head under the water. So he went down under the water, and when he came up, he said, there's water under there. He thought that when he went under the water, there'd be no water. Now, that's my son. That's how cute he is.
Always appreciate
okay, that's it. I'm going to say good night to you all. And
oh, well, that's it. Sorry. Good night. Hey, living down in West Palm Beach. My dad, George Schneider, grew up in this town. I'm 5th generation to live in Highlands, so it means a lot to me. If somebody is interested in diving, what would you suggest they do?
Buy a snorkel, jump in the pool, and go in with just a snorkel. And that'll show, because a lot of times, that's why I'm not an instructor, but I've taught a number of people, like my 2 children. At the end, like, you're supposed to keep 500 PSI in the tank.
Sure.
To fill it. They don't want you to run low. So if I have any extra air, I would just put my kids in the pool in here, breathe it down to 500 PSI, and just let them swim on the surface with the tank and the regulator without any weight. But if you want to see if you could do it, you just put the snorkel in your mouth and just stick your head under the water.
Are there places that are better than others for snorkeling? I mean, you can pick up some pretty nice snorkels and masks and flippers for not a lot of money.
I bought my stuff sometimes in Kmart.
And where would you suggest to go? Is there a nice place for a novice to kind of experience snorkeling in the ocean? Once you graduate past the pool, where would you take them? To the rocks or where would?
Well, that's offshore. Yeah.
Oh, it's a little offshore.
But before the sand pumping, just go around the jetty.
Okay. And where is that? What town?
Anywhere along the coast. The groins, I call jetties.
Okay, yeah.
Now, since they're sand pumping, they're
a lot of turbidity in the water.
They fill them up, cover them. But
sure.
Yeah, it's a snorkel off the beach, because you could see stuff just from,
And tell me, guys, are you a member of any scuba clubs or anything like that, or is there a website or anything like that if people want more information, or you just?
I hold my meetings out on the boat.
There are dive clubs. I belonged to a shore aquatic club for 2 years, and you meet a lot of new people, and you can dive together. There's organizations that do certifications like PADI and Maui that you have to get certified, and then there's different certifications that you can take. So it's a pretty structured sport. Years ago it wasn't, but now it is. It's a big business.
Well, I'm very excited because these guys have offered me an opportunity. They're probably thinking twice about it now after this experience.
Oh, this is very good.
We're going to do a video for our show, Jersey Bayshore Country, and we're going to do a documentary on the dive, and they're going to put me in a garbage can, I think, and turn it upside down so I have some breathing, and you have a camera, right? What do you think that we'll do? Do you have any sense of where you'd like to take me? You're not going to take me and dump me somewhere.
Oh, where do you want to go?
Well, probably shallow water, maybe even something where
I could dive, or you want to just
probably someplace where I could use the snorkel, and maybe use the camera from the top, and you're not too far down, and I could still see you and videotape it, because quite frankly, I probably can't scuba dive unless I'm certified. Is that correct?
No, there's no law against it, but
really,
no, there's no law. Now, dive shops won't fill your tanks. That's why I got certified when they did, because I was diving before I even drove. So but the dive shop I went to, he knew, very few teenagers did it, so he knew we were into it. So yeah, we buy our gear, get our tanks filled, and.
Well, would you have do you think it's reasonable that you could give me some tips and maybe I could throw on a tank and go down with you, or do you think that's a factor?
Well, I mean, snorkeling the Shrewsbury rocks, you could probably.
Well, I'm talking about actually when I go film this underwater with an underwater camera, right? Bear with me now.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's scuba, yeah, you should get instruction.
Yeah,
you could get a quick certification course, probably less than 30 days.
Oh, I don't have time. Can't you just show me one afternoon?
Yeah, when the thresher shocks are running, I'll be glad to.
Oh,
probably snorkeling would be good on the Shrewsbury Rocks, or if it's a calm day, there's some shallow wrecks and
yeah.
Well, that's going to be a great opportunity for people and me really to see what you do, and we're going to obviously have you guys setting up.
But we have to take Carl with us.
We do? All right.
Carl's a character.
All right. So tell me about Carl. What will he bring to the day when we go out?
Spice and
humor.
Well, guys, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here so much, and thank you. We had a little bit of a false start at the beginning of the program. As it turned out, for those of you who were listening when we first got in, the show started at 8 o'clock, and we were hearing an echo, which was driving us crazy. And it turned out I had launched the software program twice. So there were two radio shows happening simultaneously, and there was a little bit of a delay, so we had to start at 8:30. Was there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't?
I was going to say, when am I going to retire from this?
Okay, when are you going to retire from this?
I don't know yet. I don't know. I don't know anything else.
You really enjoy it, don't you, Gary?
Yeah, but I don't like the cold anymore.
Yeah.
But with the side scan sewn on, I don't even have to jump in. I just throw somebody else and let them go.
You talked about some other folks, Micronesia, other areas like Micronesia, I think you mentioned. Do you get down to the Caribbean? Have you? I mean, I've dived the Caribbean once, and I've snorkeled it a lot.
Yeah, Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, and Jamaica.
What's your favorite place in the whole Caribbean that you've dived?
Well, I only snorkeled when I was a kid in Jamaica, and then I scuba in Bahamas, and then snorkeled in Puerto Rico. But I mean, it's beautiful, but it's not out here.
Right.
Yeah, out here, I don't know. It's just something totally different about it. Both. supposedly they say if you can dive New Jersey, you can dive anywhere, and I say if you could dive Flynn's Knolls, you can dive out there. The tides, wind, and
sure,
it just comes all different directions.
Now, Robert, you so don't retire before we do this video.
No, not yet.
Okay. And Robert, what didn't I ask you that I should have asked you, or that you thought I was going to ask you?
I would just to answer that question about diving in the Caribbean. I've dove in different exotic places. Tortola, my honeymoon, was probably my favorite. But I would have to say that when you dive New Jersey and you get good conditions, there's just nothing like it. You can't compare. If I go away now on vacation, I won't even dive every day. I'll maybe go once because it's just how much coral can you look at. But some people just really enjoy that and they take a lot of pictures. And I'm not knocking it. It's just not what I like. So,
and when you talk about diving New Jersey, you're mostly talking about diving out of the ocean. That's the attractive part, or?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Bigger.
Yeah.
Like I've been at this place called Red Square. It starts 30 miles off Long Branch, and they call it Red Square from the Russian trawler days. But there's a series of wrecks out there, and I was on one that was 300 feet long, and I was on the midsection. I could see my two friends on the bow, 150 feet away.
Wow.
It gets.
Well, guys, this has been so interesting, and I hope our listeners. I've actually been corresponding with listeners on Facebook, and they find it interesting too. So thanks so much for being part of it. And we're going to take just a really short break. This is not your excuse, as they say on television, to change the channel, because coming up next, I'm going to grill Ryan. I'm going to ask him to name every fish, every variety of fish in this area, and to talk about what he's caught, where to go, where to catch them, and maybe we can find out. And you guys are welcome to stay if you like, to be part of the program, or you can head out, whatever you like. You got a birthday party, don't you?
Yeah, my daughter's 25 today.
Oh, that's terrific! Congratulations. Now, does she scuba dive?
Well, she's certified. Diving, I mean. But
yeah. That's nice. That's great. I did for my
son and my daughter.
That's for my daughter's 28 now, I think, or about to be 28. And the only thing we did together, we've done a lot of stuff together. Is for my 60th birthday, we jumped out of a plane, did the tandem jump with people, and got it on video, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I guess when I'm about 80, she's going to throw me out of the plane.
Well, we're going to take a break. We're going to play a little music, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Ryan Tappet, and also I'm going to tell you about the exciting experience that I'm going to have this week, and next week I think we're going to have a guest that is going to take me on a tour of a haunted house in Matawan, and I'm going to spend the night in this house. It is one of the most active haunted houses in the Northeast, and it's been verified by paranormal investigators. So we shall return in a minute, and you're listening to Jersey Shore Talk Radio. Thanks, everybody. We'll be right back. Don't go away.